If you've ever experienced those moments where absolutely everything looks right on paper, feeling high off life and doing the things that actually move the needle, but at the same time, none of it feels truly aligned. Internally, there's just this gut feeling that something isn't right. I think you'll resonate with this recent experience of mine, especially if you value things like health and fitness, personal development, your faith, simply being a man that holistically takes care of his mind, his body, and his soul. So for context, I'm currently in the midst of achieving long-term healing for my body after just years of disrespecting it. Finally addressing the root of my health issues across things like posture, chronic stress, and skin and overall gut issues. So I'm at this weird stage of having to just completely start from ground zero again within my fitness, engaging in zero resistance or endurance training, and my meals have become so simple and basic compared to how I was just eating a few weeks ago. Overall, just humbling myself and allowing God to discipline me in a way designed to reverse just years of physical misalignment. And I have other episodes where I explain this further with more context, so feel free to check those out after this. Anyway, with nutrition specifically, as I mentioned, I'm looking to address those skin and gut issues that I've been experiencing for so long. Things like sebderm, especially when it comes to all the flaking and dandruff that I'll experience on my scalp, as well as just food sensitivities and whether my body is actually absorbing and digesting the food that I'm eating. In truth, a lot of it does stem from my effed up posture and chronic stress, which I've actively been addressing. At the same time, I know that the way that I'm eating and my overall relationship with food obviously plays a role whether I like it or not. And just from taking that aligned, intuitive action and actively learning what works well and doesn't work well for my own body, and on a meal baseline of pretty much just animal proteins, veggies, and low glycemic fruit. Extremely basic, I know, but I can't help but believe it's what God has led me to within this desire to respect and finally heal my body. To align towards being a man who actively embraces his bio-individuality. Because one thing about me is that within everything that I do in this life, I want to ensure that it's enhancing me across all of these aspects of my being, mentally, physically, and spiritually, rather than just one thing purely. To me, that is what alignment genuinely achieves and is designed for. So with something like nutrition, my goal isn't just purely to heal my body. It's to heal it in a way that also enhances my mind and my soul in the process. Because how you achieve success in this modern day is everything. Because I can probably find some BS protocol online to fix my posture or my gut, but it wouldn't truly be designed in a way that allows me to fully respect both my body and God. So how that ties into my current meal plan is that I don't want it to feel like this discipline, like this chore, though I'm unnecessarily restricting myself and thus draining my energy and vitality in the process. Because like I said, for the most part, spamming just protein and veggies is inherently boring. And considering long term, I want to have that freedom, that fulfillment within my diet, I'd rather set the intention on experiencing it now without delaying it. I genuinely want to heal my body whilst having it enhance my content, my mindset, my faith, my relationships, my overall lifestyle, aligning not just my body, but also my mind and my soul towards that 2.0 self. So how I've decided to go about that is by cooking more to almost gamify my nutrition. I genuinely view it as such a powerful creative outlet in terms of all the ways you can cook or set up a meal. It's a skill I want to build over the long term, and so I realize now is the perfect opportunity to begin acting on it. So the other day, instead of just reheating leftovers like I usually would, I actually put more intention into cooking and prepping my meal. Specifically, I whipped up these plantains with some coconut oil and cinnamon for lunch alongside this cod that my dad made me. As well as tried this Ray Peat carrot salad of just raw carrots, coconut oil, and raw apple cider vinegar using the spiralizer that I bought from my job. How this ties into that initial point of having that gut feeling that just things aren't right, even when they seem like they are. That on paper, it felt extremely pleasurable for me to make my meals in this way. The fun and fulfillment that came from cooking those plantains, right, making that carrot salad, just reinforcing me that the game of nutrition didn't have to be so boring. I was doing the very thing everything I set out to do in terms of having my nutrition enhance me beyond purely a physical lens through those meals. But internally, it didn't feel like that was actually the case. Time and time again, I've seen how that gut feeling is just never wrong. And reflecting on why I felt this way despite the enhancement I experienced from cooking, I realized that I wasn't truly doing it in a way that enhanced me across all three of those things in terms of my mind, my body, and my soul. With my body, I saw that the cooking actually led me to being inconsistent with my meal timings and even overeating due to the large portions that I was cooking and thus giving to myself. So mentally, I started feeling anxious and overthinking between those meals because of the fact that I was eating later than I usually would have. And even spiritually, it felt like I was acting more out of ego in terms of forcing myself to cook rather than doing it from a place of heart and soul, doing it because I genuinely wanted to. Especially after I noticed I was irritable with my parents when they tried to help me with the cooking. So through this experience, it highlighted to me one simple truth. Always listen to what you feel internally rather than how things seem externally. On paper, cooking those meals was and is still actually the play when it comes to enhancing my nutrition. But how I went about doing it was the complete opposite. So internally, my actions didn't align with my deep-seated beliefs. That intention to have my health enhance my mind and soul just as much as my body. The Bible literally reinforces this in 2 Corinthians 5:7 when it says, "For we live by believing and not by seeing." I was living from sight over belief when it came to how cooking could genuinely enhance my overall being. Looking solely at what it could do for me externally rather than what it could do for me internally. That's why now I see how this plays into every aspect of my life beyond health and fitness. Not just doing things for the sake of doing them, but to experience that alignment within my health, my mindset, my spirituality. Ensuring things like content creation and investing time into my relationships do exactly that. But with nutrition especially, I see now the need to pivot and realign my approach within this intention to cook more. That way I can make progress towards healing my skin and gut issues in a way that just feels so natural and effortless to who I am fundamentally. And once again, going back to how this all started with that gut feeling that things were misaligned, it made me think about how can I execute upon this whenever I feel that inner discomfort. So I wanted this video's actionable for alignment to be an extension of what I'm personally going to experiment with moving forward. Moments like these, I want to have what I call an alignment audit to reflect on those areas of my life where I may be experiencing that misalignment across my mind, my body, and my soul. To have God especially keep me in check to avoid living from fear and ego instead of from heart and faith. Basically just an opportunity to turn inward and have that humility to confront those forms of misalignment. During those times of just deep self-reflection and connection with God, I want to see how these alignment audits actually serve me. Asking myself whether my training or nutrition fully aligned me right, whether my content creation actually energized me or drained me, whether how I showed up within my relationships with myself, with my family, with my community actually enhance me. Then simply allowing that inner voice to convey to me how I can approach realigning myself. So naturally, some days it might just be one particular aspect of my life that's misaligned, and other days it might be all three across the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. But the point with this is to embody a man that confronts his own struggles rather than runs away from them. Seeing as I've lived as the guy who always chose to hide from and suppress that inner pain these last 2 years, right, especially after my own heartbreak, see these internal audits as a way to detach further from those versions of myself, right, those old identities that no longer serve me. To some people this might sound like a lot, but this is genuinely how I envision my life over the long term. Being a man that has the health, the business, and the overall inner fulfillment, living in complete alignment with my mind, my body, and soul. So if that resonates with you personally, I can imagine these alignment audits will serve you just as well. Have it be something you keep in the back of your head as you go out and execute upon your fitness, your work, your relationships within the day, but more so something you reflect on in your downtime to ground you within the truth as to how you're living your life, whether it's genuinely aligning you closer or further from the man you're striving to become. So have that audit in place based on what you personally feel defines being aligned or misaligned across your mind, body, and soul. Simply allow your intuition to reveal how you can then realign those areas of your life. But the main takeaway here is that you should ensure that you do things in a way to where it's enhancing every aspect of your being. Because if how you do one thing is how you do everything, best believe one area that is misaligned will just bleed into those other areas of your life. Have that intention to align your mind, body, and soul within all that you do. And not every day will be perfect, but just having that intention alone will be enough to pull you closer towards your own highest self. But 2.0. Nonetheless, appreciate you for watching and making it this far. If you also value things like your health, your personal development, and overall spirituality, lock in for the rest of 365 Align. 365 days of just allowing God to align me mentally, physically, and spiritually towards that 2.0 self. Simply sharing the downloads that I received from him, such as this recent experience within aligning my nutrition through cooking. Still rocking in phase 1 of Soul 2.0, right? AKA character and lifestyle design. So we'll see what the future holds moving forward. Remember to live by belief and not by sight, right? Cling on to what you feel internally rather than how things look and seem externally. But as always, stay aligned.